They certainly won't take my advice, but the answer is the first country that can print currency and buy Bitcoin wins. A mid-sized country could probably do it, but you'd have to be aggressive. If we come back to a company, a company's stock is just like a country's currency.
Right.
Right? The country can issue currency. By the way, the reason El Salvador isn't quite synonymous is El Salvador doesn't have their own currency. So what I said, the first country to print their own currency and buy Bitcoin wins. You need to be able to issue $10 billion of your currency, swap it for $10 billion of Bitcoin, grow the Bitcoin 30% a year. And that's the way a treasury reserve asset's supposed to work, right? Because everybody then stampedes into that with you. MicroStrategy had a $600 million enterprise value, and we had $600 million in cash, and we had no growth, and we were dead money, and we were trading $2 million a day in the stock market, guy. That's just like the Russell 2000, or let's say the Russell 1000, the bottom Russell 1000 companies. They're all like that. They're all 500 million to multi-billion dollar companies, 100 million to billion dollar market caps. They all trade 1 million to 20 million a day. They've all got low growth because if you're not Nvidia or Apple or the Magnificent Seven, you just, you can't grow like Microsoft. So we took that Russell 2000 small cap company. We took our cash. We bought some Bitcoin. We bought 250 million of Bitcoin. We put that out on the wire. The shareholder base turned over. We bought another 175 million of Bitcoin. The stock doubled. All of our employees exercised some stock options. We bought more Bitcoin. Stock increased again. We sold a convertible bond. We bought more Bitcoin. The stock increased again. Bitcoin increased again. You fast forward 44 months, and the stock price 10x'd. The market cap 20x'd, the enterprise value 40x'd. It went from 600 million to mid 25 billion. And so what were we doing? What we were doing is we're issuing our currency, our stock that is, to buy Bitcoin, or we're borrowing against our stock to buy Bitcoin as digital capital. My advice to an aggressive small country, if you're small, mid-sized country and you can print your own currency, you either print the currency to buy Bitcoin or you issue sovereign debt and swap it right into Bitcoin immediately, right? You can borrow money cheap and you loan it to Bitcoin at 24% return or better, right? So that's obvious, but I'm not going to hold my breath on countries because it's a very political thing. I think that the people that are the obvious beneficiaries that hopefully are listening to this podcast would be shareholders, officers, and directors of the 10,000 small, mid-sized companies, especially publicly traded companies, which in essence can't outperform the Magnificent Seven. If you don't think you can outperform Google and Meta and Microsoft and Nvidia, and you have some money, you either take the cash and buy Bitcoin, you issue equity and buy Bitcoin, or you issue debt, either senior debt, or even better, you issue convertible debt, convertible to your equity, and you buy Bitcoin, because that allows you to recapitalize with an appreciating asset, as opposed to decapitalize and have nothing, or to hold capital in a depreciating asset that is kind of burning, has got a negative real yield and burning shareholder value. MicroStrategy is going to keep developing its Bitcoin position, and it's going to get exponentially harder, right? This last week, you saw Block announce that they're going to start buying Bitcoin every month. You've seen accretion of Bitcoin by a lot of Bitcoin miners. A lot of them are actually not selling as much Bitcoin as they're mining now. I think you're going to see more Bitcoin miners buying more. I think you're going to see more Bitcoin exchanges buying more. I think you see the existing ETFs accumulating, but now we're up to 22 spot ETFs in the world, and they're all in a marketing war with each other. And so they're going to go harder. So I think, and at some point you're going to see other, these Russell 1000 companies, right? Which one of them wants to crawl out of their zombie state? It's like you're just waiting for someone to decide they want the money. So I think that when they do that, they drive up the price of Bitcoin, and I have to chase it. My first Bitcoins were below 10,000, and and I'm buying Bitcoin in the 60s now, and that's okay. Um, I don't know where we'll get to. I know we'll get more. We'll accrete from here. We will acquire more Bitcoin than we have right now, and we'll do it via organic cash and via debt, especially convertible debt, and we'll do it via equity, and that'll be a function of capital markets and all sorts of other dynamics. But I think Archimedes said, "You give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, I can move the world." Well, the the place to stand is Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's not a commodity; it's a scarcity. So if it's a scarcity, it's like if I said to you, "There's one city. It's at the trade crossroads of the world. It's the center of the digital economy. One day, everybody on the planet's going to be moving their capital through that city, but there's only 276 by 276 by 276 blocks in that city. And by the way, it's like 94% occupied, but you can buy another one of those blocks if you want. Do you want to buy some more?" And the answer is, yeah, I want to keep buying, because just like if I could have bought New York or Manhattan 100 years ago, or 50, or 200, or 30, or 300, tell me, at what year, how many years ago was it a bad idea, right? I think it's always been a good idea. If you can hold, right? As long as you can hold the property. And why is Manhattan a good idea? Because it's a granite island at the middle of Long Island Sound and the Hudson, and it's got great natural harbors. It's the gateway to North America. It was always the best place to put a port, right? And if you look at it and you cruise around it and you stare at it and you look at the fact you can build that on top of that schist, it's obvious people are going to want to live in and do business in that city for hundreds of years.